Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and we're doing my November book haul today. So while I didn't necessarily have the same month that I did last month with the 45 books or whatever, I still managed to get quite a few books, and I'm definitely going to be changing my book buying habits going into 2019. So there's going to be definitely some changes, but I will talk about that in later videos. It's going to have to do with my budget and just some fun things. So we're just going to talk about books and we'll talk about the boring financial stuff later. So I'm on the floor in my office and Sasha's with me. So you might see, oh, hey, there she is. So anyway, here's Sasha. If you haven't seen her on my channel before, she likes to be in videos. We're going to try to do a book haul. Here's what I have. I have a book of the month books. I have a book outlet order. I have a thrift book order, which is actually an affiliate program that I am a part of. So I'll leave a coupon code in the description below for that, and you can save some money. Thrift Books is very similar to Book Outlet. There's a few differences. One being that you only have to spend $10 to get free shipping and not $35. I also was able to find a lot more titles that weren't on Book Outlet, but they were on Thrift Books. It's very comparable, but it's just another outlet for you guys. If you are interested, I will leave all of the information in the description below. And then I have a thrift store buy, or a thrift store haul. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Alright, so I did get 3 books on Book Outlet, or not Book Outlet, on Book of the Month this month. I do have The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. It's actually on a shelf already, and it's very difficult to get to because it's behind my Christmas decorations, so I did not get that. I didn't get it off my shelf, but I did get that one. And then I also got 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. This is my 3rd Liane Moriarty, the book that's on my shelf, and still haven't read any of them, but I've heard really good things, and I have heard really good things about this one. So this is about 9 people that gather at a remote health resort, here to lose weight, and you know, things are not as it seems. So it seems like a really interesting book, and I'm interested. I'll probably pick it up sometime early next year. Obviously it's not gonna happen this year. And then the 3rd book that I picked up on Book of the Month was one of the backlisted ones, and that is The Girls by Emma Cline. So this I've heard super mixed things about, but it is about California in the 1960s, and I don't remember if it's Ted Bundy. I don't remember, but no, it's not. It's not Ted Bundy, but it is a very cult. It's kind of like a novelization about a cult, and those books fascinate me, so I'm really interested in picking this one up. I'm gonna do my thrift store find next because it is the one falling over. A lot of these books are things, so when the Pop Sugar Challenge came out for next year, I kind of have a list of the books that I do want to read, and I wanted to try to pick those up at thrift stores before I pick them, before I tried to buy them new or even on Book Outlet, because they're much cheaper. So that's what a lot of these ones are. So I have The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I have Seabiscuit by Laura Hillebrand. I have The Freedom Writer's Diary by the Freedom Writers with Erin Gruwell. This is a nonfiction book about an English teacher in Long Beach, California. So it is about, so one day she intercepted a note with an ugly racial caricature and angrily declared that this was precisely the sort of thing that led to the Holocaust, only to be met by uncomprehending looks. So she and her students used the treasured books, Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, and Zlata's Diary, A Child Life in Sarajevo, as their guides undertook a life-changing, eye-opening, spirit-raising odyssey against intolerance and misunderstanding. They learned to see the parallels in these books to their own lives, recording their thoughts and feelings in diaries and dubbing themselves the Freedom Writers in homage to the civil rights activist, the Freedom Writers. So it's a nonfiction book, and a lot of it's done in these diary formats. So it seemed really interesting, and I believe it was like 50 cents. All right, the next book I've actually already read, and I'm going to talk about in my November wrap-up, and that was Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. I have mixed feelings about it. But basically it was an essay, a collection of essays about feminism and in the media, in politics, in the world, in our culture, that kind of thing. I picked up A Little Princess by Frances Hodgins Burnett, and this is a book that I was reading on my Kindle, and then I found this, and so I was able to kind of finish it in physical form, which I much rather prefer. I picked up The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. I've heard a lot of things about this, specifically from April with Getting Hookah With It. She talks about this book, and so I saw it, and I was like, well, that's really interesting, and then there is a Pop Sugar Challenge next year that this will fit. So this is about... it's a historical fiction, and it's like post-World War II, if I remember correctly. I don't know a lot about it, but I just remember her really liking it, so I was like, well, I do that with thrift store books, is I find like things that people have talked about, and then I'm like, oh, it's not that much money, and I need to work on that, and I will next year, I promise. I picked up a romance novel, Mismatch by Laurelyn McGee. This is one that I do have on Kindle, but again, I like having the physical books, even though it's a mass market. Alright, so he's the perfect catch. Blake Donovan is tall, handsome, rich, and successful. So why would a guy like him need a matchmaker? Andrea Dawson has no idea, but a job is a job. After being blackballed from a career in marketing, Andrea agreed to pursue her unique profiling skills to play matchmaker out of pure desperation. But when she meets her highly eligible and particular first client face-to-face, she wonders what she's gotten herself into. Contemporary romance seems interesting. Alright, I picked up Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. This is a young adult novel, which I may not keep. I actually may give to my sister. But it's about like a kid in high school who befriends like this girl that's dying, basically. I've heard very interesting things about it. I think it was Books and Lala really liked it, if I remember correctly. I got The Love Knot by Elizabeth Chadwick. I got the Templar Silks from her last month. And so I saw this, and this is medieval England and a pilgrimage. And I've been really starting to enjoy like the medieval fiction, historical fiction, as like its own kind of subgenre. The last two books that I picked up at the thrift store was Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I've heard so many things about this, and like I love Gilmore Girls, and they talk about this in the reunion. So basically it's about her like journey through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. So it sounds very interesting. I like hiking. And it was one of those ones, so I picked it up thinking, well, maybe I'll read it in Nonfiction November, and then like the slump of the year hit. So I didn't get to it. And then the last one, I'm kind of kicking myself for even purchasing because I'm not sure about it. So it's called The Circle of Doors by Rancy Parker. So it says, in a mystery beyond explanation lies a journey you cannot deny. Ethan Gray was abandoned in grief when a mysterious video journal arrived containing images of an astonishing power from another time. The same power he had seen years earlier in a disturbing vision only hours before his classified research facility was destroyed and his colleagues killed. But the journal was a riddle of impossibility. No one could have known what he had seen that day. The terrifying experience was still a secret. So like the premise sounds really interesting. It's science fiction. Like the cover was really cool looking. But the problem is that in my Goodwill, like I had really bad internet, and so I couldn't look at the Goodreads. And then when I got home, I checked it out, and it has like a 2 point something. And it's just not like, it doesn't have great reviews, and some of them say that like it's LDS, and like, while I enjoy the LDS culture, like from an outside perspective, I don't really tend to like gravitate towards like LDS specific written books, like from their inside perspective. Does that make sense? So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this one, to be honest. Alright, so that was my thrift store purchases. And then I picked up a couple of books on Thrift Books, and I think it's just these three. Like I had them all written down, but I feel like I bought more than this, but I don't know. Alright, so I got Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this is now the 4th Taylor Jenkins Reid book I have. So I have 7 Husbands, obviously. I have One True Loves. That's the other one. And then I have Daisy Jones and the Six, which is the arc that comes out in March, I believe. So, again, haven't read this one yet, but I do love Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I do think that this one's going to be a really good one. So this one kind of is like a split perspectives on like what would happen if you went this way, what would happen if you went home with this guy. So it's an interesting perspective. I picked up The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torr. The only thing that I'm pissed about, I can't get these stickers off. So if you know of a way to get them off without ruining the cover, please let me know. I haven't tried Goo Gone yet, so I'm gonna try that. But other than that, like they're not coming off, and it's frustrating me. But yeah, I'm excited about this. So it's kind of a erotic thriller about a cam girl. All right, and then I picked up The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've already read this and I loved it, but I listened to it on audio and I wanted a physical copy of it. It's not the most beautiful cover in the world as far as like there's a scratch, and I reached out to Thrift Books and their customer service is great, because I was just like, hey, like I got this, I thought it was in good condition, like this is not really good condition. So they were able to refund me the money, no problem at all. So I'm very, very excited about that. All right, so the last thing is just my book outlet order, and that was my Black Friday deals week. So I actually got, as one of the members, you got to come in like early. So I got it, I think it was Wednesday morning you got to start shopping, and you got 30% off. I had a 10%, I had another 10% off coupon, I think, and then I had $10 in rewards. So like I bought 150 books, or not 150 books, dear God, $150 worth of books for less than $40, which is fantastic. I'm excited about that. All right, so I got Coraline by Neil Gaiman. The only thing I've read by Neil Gaiman is Neverwhere, but I heard a lot of good things about this in October, and I just love the cover. It's just so, like, it's not cute, but it's cute, like, it's creepy cute. Yeah. I got The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, and this I've seen everywhere on BookTube, and this is basically about, it's a play on the trope of, like, the chosen one. So it's like, what if you aren't the chosen one? The one who's supposed to fight the zombies or the soul-eating ghost or whatever the heck the new thing is with the blue lights and the death. What if you're like Mikey, who just wants to graduate and go to prom and maybe finally work up the courage to ask Hannah out before someone blows up the high school again? Because sometimes there are problems bigger than the week's end of the world, or than this week's end of the world, and sometimes you just have to find the extraordinary in your ordinary life, even if your best friend is worshipped by mountain lions. So yeah, it's about like the normal people around a whole bunch of people that have like superpowers and stuff. That one's not mine. I mean, it is mine, but it's a Christmas present for somebody who might possibly watch this channel. I'm not really sure, so I'm not going to talk about it. So the next book I bought was When Dimple Met Rishi. I'm not going to go into this much, but this is a young adult contemporary that's gone around BookTube for quite some time this year, and it's about like a girl and a guy who, he knows they're supposed to be an arranged marriage, she doesn't, they meet at a tech camp, that stuff. Hilarity ensues. I got the second book in the Lunar Chronicles, Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. I'm slowly but surely working my way up to getting the rest of these books. I know they have them on Hoopla, but I like to have physical copies of the books that I read if I enjoyed them. So if I'm purchasing them and they're not expensive, then I go for it. If I like find them cheap. I'm not gonna buy a brand new book that I listen to on audio new and pay that kind of money, but like if I find it on Book Outlet, then I'll go for it. But we're gonna talk about that later. So I got A Million Jeans by Emily Henry. This was on one of Kayla's from Books and Lala's favorite books, and it's like a magical realism. It has very strong family vibes. Hi, Sasha. You're back. It has very strong family vibes, and it's gonna meet a Pop Sugar challenge for next year, so I'm very excited about that. She makes it very difficult when she's literally standing on my books. but she's cute. I've been gone, like, so I was gone all last week, and then I was gone overnight Sunday, and then today was like a 10-hour work day. So, like, she's really been missing human attention and love. Huh, yes you have. Yes we have. The next book that I picked up was kind of a purchase on a whim, but, like, because it's a fantasy book. And you're like, Brianna, you don't like fantasy. You don't read fantasy. What are you doing? If you notice, like, if there's a trend here in this book outlet order, like, it's all fantasy or magical realism or, like, has some sort of fantastical elements. Sasha, I really need you to go lay down. All right, so that is Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rashish? Something? Let me read this to you because it sounded really interesting. It's the first in a series. So if I like the series, the rest of it is on Book Outlet, but I'm only going to buy the first one, and then if I don't like it, I'll just unhaul it. 16 years ago, the Kingdom of Winter was conquered and its citizens enslaved, leaving them without magic or a monarch. Now the Winterians' only hope for freedom is the 8 survivors who managed to escape and who have been searching for the chance to steal back Winter's magic and rebuild the kingdom ever since. Orphaned as an infant during Winter's defeat, Myra has lived her whole life like a refugee. Training to be a warrior, and desperately in love with her best friend and future king, she would do anything to help Winter rise to power again. So when scouts discover the location of the ancient locket that can restore their magic, Myra decides to go after it, only to find herself thrust into a world of evil magic and dangerous politics. And to realize that her destiny is not, never has been her own, nor has ever been. There we go. I can't read. It's been a really long day. Anyways, so this book sounded really interesting, and it's kind of gave me like Cruel Prince vibes, I guess, with like kind of like the fantastical politics. Does that make sense? So, like I said, I only got the first book. It was only a couple dollars. All right, and so then I also got Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I did listen to this on audio and really enjoyed it, and this is like a hardcover, and this book is so beautiful. Like, the cover of it is just, it's beautiful. I love it. And just wait for it, like, that's the naked cover. Like, it's beautiful it's on its naked cover. Like, oh my gosh. So, like, yeah. That was a thing that I did. All right, and then the last purchase that I got was a series, and it was only because they were doing like a special for like the boxed set. And I've read the first 4. I haven't read the last one. So I guess I'll read the last one now. And that is the Selection series. This is just one of those series that, like, I loved these books. They were so much fun. Like, it had very, like, Bachelor vibes in a fantastical world, but kind of dystopian-like. I loved them. And so I really, like, I wanted a hard copy of them because I feel like this book, or this series, will kind of get me out of reading slumps, if that makes sense. Of the 4 so far, I mean, like, I haven't read the 5th one, but I know, like, I've heard that the 4th and 5th are not as good as the first 3. This one's my favorite. So, yeah. So, that was my massive book haul part 2. It was not small. So I think what I'm gonna do for like the coming year is really budget myself, and I'm gonna set a dollar amount, and I haven't quite come up with what that dollar amount is going to be, but I'm gonna have a dollar amount set aside like for books every month, and I can't go over that. And then if I go under it, then I'll be able to like add on to the next month. But that's all I'll be able to spend on books for the whole month. And I think that's going to help me because I will have specific, like, if I have a number that I can't go over, then I'm gonna be a little bit more picky about the books that I'm purchasing. So that's my plan for the coming year. I'll talk about it more in future videos, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a brief overview, and maybe you guys can hold me accountable, because the last few months have just kind of gotten out of hand. And it's only because, like, I have more bookshelves now. Just the way that my house is set up, like, there's just more places for shelves and books and stuff. And so then, like, and then the Goodwill, it's not a Goodwill, it's a local thrift shop, has, like, I've walked in and gotten so many books. So I've just been like oh, that looks good, oh, that looks good. And like, I've just gotten carried away. So that being said, I'm going to kind of like limit it after a while. I've rambled on far too long. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And let me know if you have read any of these books or if I should pick them up right away. And I will see you all in the next video.